Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Sentry mode activated. Target acquired.
Hey there everyone, today I'm going to continue my series of Let's Talk About videos where I discuss and kind of sort of review games I'm currently playing. And obviously today is Legend of Arceus. There's a ton to talk about, so let's get this over with as best as we can. Apologies for any divergencies or lack of coherence, I'm just trying to get the info out here. I'm not really good at organizing. But anyway, let's just get into this. Alright, so the thing that everyone is going to talk about with Legends of Arceus, or at least assume from the trailers, is that Legends of Arceus is an open world Pokemon game, but it's also Monster Hunter and looks like Breath of the Wild, and that's definitely not the case. Trust me, it's not that. Breath of the Wild is the closest thing you can get to, but I feel like this game is not properly advertised because it's nothing like any of those. Legends of Arceus feels more like Pokemon Snap, but with battling. And before we dive into all the weird tropes thrown at this game, let's discuss the main topic, which is the story. So the story's a little weird, like you find yourself in a void, and then you start talking to obviously Arceus, and he wants you to capture all the Pokemon, so he pulls you from your world and flings you into this alternate timeline Sinnoh. Everyone's just kind of aware of this fact, which is weird. Like you were portaled in from this crack in the sky, and they're like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. Want to catch a Pokemon? But the region and people here are kind of different, so like unlike every other Pokemon game, which has been about, you know, living alongside with Pokemon, everyone here is kind of afraid of them and think they're extremely dangerous. So you gotta kind of help complete your Pokedex and find out information on Pokemon so that you can show that, hey, you know, they're not so bad. But shit gets bad and you gotta fix it, obviously. Now originally I didn't really care for the story of the characters because it's a Pokemon game and they're always the same. But that's actually not the case here in Arceus. I don't really want to talk about like game spoilers or character development and stuff because I mean obviously you want to figure that out for your own, so I won't. But I had a decent time at least, and you better enjoy it, and I didn't want to spoil the story because the story and the dialogue is like 70% of this game. There is so much dialogue here, and honestly, it gets a little annoying now to have a Pokemon game with this much dialogue and how much of the game is like scripted out, and there's still no recorded audio or voice actors. And because there's so little background music in this game, you don't really hear anything but like pings when you click A to advance the text and the occasional like drum slam when someone's trying to make a point. It's really weird and I don't like it, and at this point in Pokemon's life, I think we deserve some voices. So I'm going to leave the story aside and talk about the game and how it feels like every other game, just like any good game journalist would do. So by saying this is like Pokemon Snap, you're going to think, well no it's not, you're not on rails, you're not taking pictures of Pokemon, how is this like Pokemon Snap at all? Well, the core gameplay loop, and it's the entire point of the game, is to complete the Pokedex. But unlike other Pokemon games, it's not simple like capture all the Pokemon. See, the Pokedex in Arceus is not complete. You need to fill out all the information in the Pokemon lands. This includes things like, you know, battling them to see what attacks they use, feeding them, surprising them, seeing them at specific times a day, the whole like habitual stuff. So you're very much documenting Pokemon behavior. In that sense, it's very much like Pokemon Snap. Even more so when you start taking the star system and the map into account. No, this is not open world. It's broken into like 5 zones with various elements for each zone. It's huge for sure. It feels kind of open worldy, but it's not. And in order to get to the next zone, you have to get like a star rating on your Pokedex before Team Galaxy will let you set foot in there. And to get your stars, well, you got to complete more of your Pokedex entries, which means capturing the same Pokemon multiple times, battling them multiple times, hoping you see specific attacks, feeding them, all that stuff. It's a lot of Pokemon Snap like actions you need to do in order to progress. And this wall does block story progression. You can complete a zone and then like, you know, the main quest will tell you to go to this next one, but you can't actually do that because you need more stars in your Pokedex. You got to go back and start, you know, collecting Pokemon and doing shit there. So it does feel a lot like Pokemon Snap in that regards. Now let me talk about the Breath of the Wild aspects that people keep talking about. And honestly, yeah, I could see it. It's pretty much like Breath of the Wild. Of course, Breath of the Wild didn't invent the whole open world genre, but the elements that this game takes from that are like really obvious. The background music is damn near the exact same kind of like gentle rhythms, and honestly, I thought some of the tracks are straight rips from Zelda. But not only that, the sound effects are all just like Breath of the Wild, like collecting and crafting and stuff. It like sounds exactly like Breath of the Wild. It's weird. And even the inventory management stuff is just like ripped straight from Breath of the Wild. I know everyone's saying like every game is like a Dark Souls game or a Breath of the Wild game these days, but you really can't escape it here. The inventory system works exactly the same. Like, you have your inventory management in Pokemon, which is awful enough, but now you have to keep crafting materials and you have to pay extra to get like your inventory increased one slot at a time, just like Breath of the Wild. But rather than gather like Korok seeds, you're just, paying for bag space. And honestly, I like the idea of crafting and making things in Pokemon. It's actually pretty fun, but the only way to craft certain items is by getting crafting recipes. So even if you know how to make something, you can't just like put it together. Like Pokeballs are 1 apricorn and like a mineral piece. Great Balls are that plus an ore. And then Ultra Balls are just 2 of the mineral and the ore pieces. But you can't make or buy like Ultra Balls or Great Balls until you get far enough into the Pokedex entries that they hand over the recipes, which is kind of annoying. So you're stuck with the weaker Pokeballs for a long time. And now the openness of the maps does get easier when you get like your mounts and stuff, which do help you also unlock new areas for that map that you couldn't get to before, now that you can climb or jump or swim or fly. And it does feel pretty good, to be honest. It's definitely not like as vast and as rich as like Zelda exploration, but it's pretty good. I mean, and it's not open world, but it kind of feels like it is. So, I mean, I'm going to give that a plus, to be honest. Alright, so the Monster Hunter topic. Some of the trailers and spoilers have shown that you kind of get to attack Pokemon and get attacked by Pokemon, and you can just kind of fight them with, your trainer, and not have to deal with your Pokemon. And people have said it feels like Monster Hunter, which is really freaking stupid. So yeah, you don't have to directly engage with Pokemon if you don't want to, and it's honestly probably one of the best features that this game has. If you don't have any active Pokemon alive, you don't just black out and go back to town, you just don't have any more Pokemon. The battles just cancel if you lose them all. Now, you can die if a Pokemon hits you enough times, so you do have to avoid those for sure. And it does get kind of hard. You get a bum rushed by like 3+ monsters at once, and they start hounding you down from super far away, and all their attacks track. And if you do get knocked down by Pokemon, it kind of sucks. You drop your satchel and lose a ton of items from your inventory. No, you can't go back and recover. It's not a Dark Souls game. Come on, guys. But you can also catch Pokemon and interact with them with just your items in your inventory. You don't need Pokemon at all. With like bait and fruit, you can lure Pokemon to break them from their group or just get them distracted. Like rocks and snowballs and stuff can be thrown at Pokemon to interrupt their attacks and let you throw Pokeballs at them. And there are even things like repels and smoke bombs to mask your presence. It's actually a really fun system, and I found that I was enjoying capturing Pokemon with clever tricks more so than just battling them and throwing a Pokeball at them, which of course you can still do. Now, the Royal Pokemon fights, which are the story fights, is a forced encounter with just you and your handy dandy bag of chloroform. This is probably the worst part of the whole system, to be honest. Each of the Royal boss fights are supposed to be, calm through like throwing these satchels at them so you can then fight them with your Pokemon and then take chunks of their HP off and then rinse and repeat. But that's really slow and honestly really dangerous. Those Royal Pokemon hurt. It was infinitely easier to just, spam chloroform on them and dodge their attacks the entire time. And it got really boring and repetitive really quick. I don't really see why this is a thing. It's like forced for almost every single Royal and Legendary Pokemon fight. So it's kind of weird. It's definitely not Monster Hunter. It's just a weird gimmick. You have a dodge and you throw chloroform, rinse and repeat. Yes, you can die, but there's like no depth to this. It's just, as simple as it looks. So let's get into the actual Pokemon combat, which is slightly different here into Arceus. It's actually not as easy as other Pokemon games. You see, here in Arceus, you can get ganged up on by like 3 or 4 Pokemon at once out in the world, and you don't get to fight 3v3 or anything like that. It's a 3v1, and your Pokemon get beat up real hard. Not only that, but all the stats and attacks are different, and it seems like everything an enemy Pokemon does is gonna damn near one-shot you. If it's crit or super effective, you're toast, no questions asked. Even Pokemon that are like 10, 20 levels lower than me can damn near one-tap me on like a super effective move. It's crazy. So yeah, expect your Pokemon to die a lot. Nuzlockes are gonna be insane for this game. I was actually enjoying the combat because going into the game, I wasn't sure what to expect next, and I just found that everything was hurting a lot and had to be a lot more careful than typically in any other Pokemon game where you just steamroll stuff. Now, you can freely walk around in combat too, which is kind of interesting, but honestly, I don't really see the point. You don't take damage during combat, so you can't die if you get in the way. You just kind of get pushed over. You do get cool perspectives, I guess, which is new and interesting enough, though. I guess you don't really need much more than that. And then lastly, we're going to talk about the new additions to Arceus when you select between the agile and strong moves. So Pokemon can master moves that they have, typically just by, getting through enough encounters with them. And then you can select between agile, normal, and strong versions of them. Agile moves are typically 10 to 15 less base power, their statuses last 1 less turn, and they cost 1 more PP, but they put you up in the speed order, which is not exactly like the speed in previous games. Like you can attack 2 or 3 times in a row if you get high enough speed. It's kind of weird. Strong moves typically gain power or accuracy, but slow you down. So speed is kind of weird in Arceus. Like most of the time it'll still be, you know, like Pokemon where you get 1 turn and then they get 1 turn kind of thing. But if you're really fast by comparison, you can get 2 attacks in or even 3 attacks in if you use agile moves, which is kind of insane because like you can't use items or stop between those. They don't get a break. So like speed matters a lot more now, but also not as much because for the most part, you're still just going to be doing the 1 turn regardless. I don't really understand the speed system very much, but it's kind of fun to use, and it's really scary when the AI abuse it. Like if they get 2 or 3 attacks in on a swap, oh, that's another thing. There's no swapping between Pokemon feints like in a battle. They just throw out their next Pokemon and start hammering you down, and like they can swap in a Pokemon and attack you twice before you could do anything. There's no escape from like the damage at all, so it makes the game a lot harder, but also more fun, because I've always wanted a Pokemon game with some actual difficulty. And then lastly, I want to talk about some other small points here and there that I've noticed in no particular order. First is that there are a ton of side quests, like hundreds of them, and there's no tracking them down, which is super annoying. Like if you hit the track quests, most of the time it doesn't give you any markers other than, hey, it's in this region, or here's the NPC that started it. They don't give you anything in the quest description, nothing. Finding specific NPCs or trying to remember what they said and where to look is damn near impossible sometimes. I didn't do most of the side quests because I either forgot where they were or where I was supposed to go, or they were Pokedex completions and I ain't got time for that. Pokedex completion entries are like doing all the checkboxes on this one specific Pokemon, and it kind of takes forever, and it's just not that interesting. Like you have to see this Pokemon use a move 10 times, you have to use this Pokemon in a fight 8 times, you have to kill it with like psychic attacks a certain amount of times. It's just kind of time consuming. So the second thing is that the graphics and the animation in this game are terrible. Like holy wow, they're bad. Like battling animations are just fine, to be honest, no really complaints there. The battles look pretty good, but the NPCs have like 2 face actions, standard and O face, and you'll know what I mean when you play. And anytime there's like any sort of action to be done in a cutscene, they just kind of cut to black and then reappear and then it happened. It's super weird and lazy. And everyone has the exact same like handover item animations, and sometimes items just appear in your hands. Look, it's not the end of the world, but it's lazy. And like the textures in the game are just awful for the NPCs too. It's like unforgivably awful. And when you're in different lighting or on the water, they just look even worse. There's a lot of like tearing and really bad pixelization. It looks very bad up close. Next on this list is that Pokemon are all different. It's not a gripe or even a complaint, it's just something I wanted to know. Pokemon don't have abilities in this at all. Their move pools are extremely restricted, and with the way they battle, it's kind of different. Like, I don't know, they just feel weird. Pokemon aren't exactly the same as they've always been, which is kind of cool to me, but it has some downsides. Pokemon like Golem, who have terrible typing but are saved by their abilities like Sturdy or Arcanine with Intimidate, stuff like that, they just feel terrible now. And Pokemon who had great move pools don't really have that anymore. Bro, there's no Earthquake. I haven't seen Earthquake at all. Bulldoze, Earth Power, and like High Horsepower are the only things I've seen for ground attacks in this game. It's weird. It just feels different. They also changed up like statuses and such, like Calm Mind and Bulk Up, which would give like 1 stage of attack and defense, Calm Mind being special, Bulk Up being physical. They now do both, so they're kind of OP. But like all buff abilities are like this now, and all like attack buffs do both physical and special, and same for defense. But buffs only last 3 turns now, which includes debuffs such as poison and paralysis too. Frozen's now like a dot, and then like sleep's a 50-50 action like charm or something. Entry hazards are gone. So yeah, like it's all different. It's a very different Pokemon game. Oh, and there's no PvP. Let me, glance by that really quick and then flip a huge U-turn. There is no PvP in this Pokemon game. It's entirely single player. The only online aspect of this game is like Wonder Trade stuff, and then you can recover dead players' satchels to return them for points to buy evolution items. That's it. Which is pretty cool, by the way, but there's no PvP. There's also no breeding, which I thought was interesting. So like trying to get perfect Pokemon is weird. Like I'll make another video, but they changed like everything up, especially like the EVs and stuff. Anyway, So that's all the points I wanted to cover. So let me just wrap this up by saying I actually really liked Arceus a lot. It's a good step in the right direction for Pokemon. They haven't really changed their gameplay formula like ever, and I was having quite a good time with this new battling system and the open map exploration and the tricks and tools you can use to capture Pokemon. It's really good. I do hope they adopt some of these features permanently going forward, because they really do bring some fresh air to this franchise. Now, I hated Sword and Shield, never bought the DLCs and stuff. I didn't buy the Gen 4 remakes, but I'm really into Arceus. The only downside to this game, I think, is that there's no multiplayer aspects. So once you finish this game, there's not much else for you to do other than to complete your Pokedex if you want. And trust me, you're constantly being told to complete your Pokedex throughout this game. That is the end game. You want to see Big Daddy Arceus, you need to complete that Pokedex. Now, post-games, there are a few couple quest lines for catching legendaries and stuff, but it's mostly just Pokedex stuff. But that's kind of it. It's definitely worth picking up regardless. I put about 30 hours into it right now. I think maybe 35. Finishing the game and doing most of the post-game stuff. I got to Arceus, but he's like, no man, go complete the Pokedex. And I was like, nah, I'm fine. But yeah, that's Legends of Arceus. Thank you all for watching, and good luck out there.